Hi, I'm John Hunt, and today I'll be your pewtersmith. I've been assembling a collection of computers from 1982 to 1992, and today we're going to see if I can print out a banner using an Apple IIe, the same as I did when I was 12 years old. We're going to give it a try. When I was in middle school, this was about 1992, in the 6th grade, they were still Apple II computers in the computer lab there. They were still the dominant computer in education. And I have a very fond memory of working with those computers and with an ImageWriter II printer to print out these really cool banners with 80s style graphics. And what I want to try to do today is recreate that experience. Nowadays, you just hook up the USB cable and it all works. At the time, cabling was an extreme challenge. You had to make sure you had the right cable, and I'm not sure that I do. This is an Apple IIc Plus. We saw in the previous video an Apple IIc. That's not all that rare. There were lots of those. They started making these in 1988, right at the end of the Apple II era, and it was the last physical computer that Apple made with the Apple II name on it. This is distinct from the previous one that we saw in that it has a 3.5-inch floppy drive on the side, and it's also twice as fast. I got it on eBay for a really good deal of $180. These often go for $300 plus. I also have the matching monitor and monitor stand, so I'm pretty excited to use this. This is an Apple ImageWriter II printer. This is actually the last version of that ImageWriter II printer as well, the one that is most reliable. This is the first power on of this printer in probably 20 years plus, maybe 30. Okay, it made a pretty sad sound there. Sounds like it's probably stuck. Ooh, it's pretty jammed. Ooh, it's very jammed. I'm gonna give it a little bit of the old WD-40. It looks like there's a little bit of corrosion down there. This one might have gotten a little wet in storage over the many years. But I do have a spare one that I can bring out. A very familiar sound to me. Now, this printer takes a type of printer paper called form feed paper that has perforated edges that help guide it through the printer. Amazingly, I was still able to buy boxes of that paper on Amazon. So there are definitely printers from this era still being used out there. We have to take off the front cover, the back cover, flip up the two little sides, and then we advance the paper in till it's just up on the print head, just like that. And I'm gonna put it in self-test mode. To do that, we hold down the form feed button, press the power button, wait till it starts up for a sec, and then release. And look at her go. So this is what we actually print out during the self-test pattern. It's just alphanumeric characters, but we can see it's pretty darn faint. That's not too surprising considering these are the original ribbons in these printers. We're actually going to use WD-40. It's the perfect thing to recover it because it revitalizes the ink. It adds in that little bit of oil that's kind of over time dried out. So we just spray a little on the ribbon and then advance it. And you just repeat until the whole cartridge has been done. Takes about 30 minutes for a cartridge. For black cartridges, they actually still make brand new ImageWriter II cartridges you can buy on Amazon. We're quite a bit better now. It's still a little bit uneven. That's kind of to be expected as the WD-40 kind of moves around in the cartridge. So the software we're going to be using today is called the Print Shop. Now, this was a major software title back in those days. This is actually the IBM Tandy version. There was one for the Apple II, one for the Macintosh, one for the PC, which is this copy here, also one for the Commodore 64 even. This was so popular that in 1987, this one software package comprised 4% of the entire US software market. So we've seen this device on the show once before. This is the Apple Macintosh floppy drive emulator from Big Mess of Wires. I love this thing. We're gonna be using it again today to actually get the software to run on this computer. But I do have to get the software and put it on this device. I'm gonna be using Asimov. This is ftp.apple.asimov.net. There we are, the new print shop. Tons of disk images. They come in a few different formats, but it doesn't matter. The Big Mess of Wires device can deal with any of the formats. I'm gonna get the print shop disk itself, the sampler, the school, and the party graphics library. This little device can actually emulate all the different types of Apple floppy disks, and we see a list of them here. Right now it's set to Apple II 5.25-inch floppy, But if we move through the list, we can actually change it to Apple II 3.5-inch floppy, which is what I need. And select the new print shop. There we go. And we're gonna go to Setup. And I'm gonna start by selecting Apple II ImageWriter II M, which is for monochrome. If welcome message was printed, then printer test was successful. It didn't print. I think that the printer cable might be bad, or the port on the computer might be bad. I don't have another printer that I can just try to hook it up. But what I do have is a computer over there, and I just happen to work for a printing company, and I have tools that should, in theory, allow me to talk to this printer from my modern computer, because it is just a serial printer, and we still make serial printers. I've got a StarTech USB to serial adapter. I've got a gender changer here to get it into the right configuration. This cable is just a straight through cable, comes back over here. Then I adapt it into this 25-pin format with this little adapter. I've got a null modem adapter, which is for reversing the send and receive lines. And then it connects to this original Apple cable, which is going out to the printer. So let's see if we can get my computer to talk to it. This is a tool that I actually maintain at work called Toolbox, but any basic serial communication program will do just fine to talk to this printer. I'm gonna try to print the text Pewtersmith 150 times to the printer. Let's run it and see what we get. Okay, so now that I know that the printer is actually talking correctly, I think I figured out what the problem is with the cable. There is a different type of cabling wiring that's required to work specifically with this printer, in which it reverses the transmit and receive lines. The cable that I have that I ordered to use with this printer is straight through. That's not gonna work. I happen to have a couple of these cables, which are for an Apple IIe computer, and I have a crazy idea that if I use 2 of these and one of the pieces from my setup, we might be able to get it to work. So we've got 2 of those Apple II cables that each reverse at once connected. Then we've got a second reverse here and a third reverse here. We actually only need it flipped once, but this is the only way I can get the cable configuration to make sense with this ridiculous setup. All right, we're gonna test the printer and see how we do. Now that we're working and we're pretty confident in things, let's design a little graphic, shall we? This is the one I'm gonna pick for my border. And now I'm gonna pick some graphics, and I'd really like to get an image of what this thought was a computer. Look at that classic computer image. That's what we're going for. Okay, I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna type welcome to on the top, and then I'm gonna on the bottom, Pewtersmith. Even though this software is a little bit clunky compared to modern standards, okay, it's a lot clunky compared to modern standards, it's still very usable, and I was able to lay it out exactly as I'd like to see. Thinking, thinking, thinking. Printing. For a ribbon that is long gone, I think it looks pretty nice. I misaligned the paper a little bit, as you can see, but that's okay, because we're gonna try one more print. I have a bunch of color ribbons that are new old stock. The color ribbons are notorious for not aging well, so we may not be able to succeed, but I wanna see if I can get that full color going. It's important to note also that we're actually on the double speed mode, so this whole program would be half as fast if I weren't using this Apple IIc Plus. Apple II Color. Looks like there's something. Yep, it's coloring. More thinking. Color really takes a lot of process for it to figure out. Well, it just looks fantastic. That ribbon worked perfectly, amazingly. I'm very surprised. This is as good as this printer could have ever looked. Of course, the computer image is very low resolution, but that's part of the charm. I did manage to mess up the alignment a second time, but I'll probably print a bunch more images and hang them up here around the computer lab.